Okay, welcome to Economics 232, Chapter 7 video lecture, Part 4. As I said, I'm making these videos short because I'm having problems uploading them to VidGrid. Some of these will have to be uploaded to YouTube so that you can view them because of the problems I'm having with VidGrid. Now, here we're going to deal with the things we just talked about: marginal cost, total fixed cost, total variable cost, average variable cost, and average total cost. Going back into the slides. Oops, wrong one. Okay, we'll go over the equations real quick. Okay. Total fixed cost, costs that do not vary as output varies. Okay. Things like rent, interest on loans, and property taxes. That's abbreviated TFC. TVC, total variable cost, TVC, are costs that are zero and output is zero and vary as output varies. Examples are wages, electricity, fuel, and materials. Total cost, your first big equation here, okay, one you have to know, is the sum of total fixed costs plus total variable costs. Oops. Get two windows up in there. TC is total cost is equal to TFC, which is total fixed cost, plus TVC, which is total variable cost. There are only two types of costs in general: fixed and variable. And they sum up to total cost. Average fixed cost, total fixed cost divided by the quantity of output. There should be an AFC sub Q because these fixed costs change as output changes. Our average fixed cost at any given level of output are equal to the total fixed cost divided by that amount of output. Average variable cost, AVC, total variable cost divided by the quantity of output produced. Okay, we take TVC at any given level of output. This changes with output, so there should be a sub Q here, and divide it by that Q, that amount of output. And that's average variable cost sub Q at that level of output. Average total cost, ATC or AC, it can be abbreviated either way, are the total costs divided by the quantity of output produced, also called per unit cost. We can get that with two different equations. We can simply take total cost and divide it by output. That'll get your ATC. Or you can add up the previous two averages, average fixed cost plus average variable cost, and you'll get the same answer. Okay. Finally, marginal cost is the change in total cost when 1 unit of output is produced. That's the change in total cost between two amounts of output, say 1,001 units of output. So we figure out what its total cost is, minus total cost when we have 1,000 units of output. Take that difference and divide it by the change in quantity. 1,001 minus 1,000. This is always going to be a 1 unit change for our purposes. Okay. And now we're going to do what we just saw. We're going to do that in Applia. So we're going to start off here. The first thing you need to know is that if output is zero, if total product output is zero, that's Q there, then we know something. If we have $120 in total cost, we know that those are all fixed costs. So we put 120 in total fixed costs. And the reason for that is because total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. And what are total variable costs when output is zero? They are zero as well. Those are costs that vary with output, and they're zero when output is at zero. Now the next thing we've got here is we've got the total cost at 0 units of output is 120. Those are all fixed. Then if we produce 1 unit of output here, okay. So here, marginal cost. Marginal cost is the change in total cost divided by the change in the output. So we take the total cost here at the higher level of output, 210, and we subtract the cost when we have 1 fewer unit of output, 120. So 210 minus 120, over 1 minus 0 is $90. So this first unit of output costs us $90 to produce. Now, once you've got total fixed costs, those don't change. So we're going to just go through here, and we're going to put 120 in each total fixed cost box, because they don't change with output. That's our rent on the building. No matter how many pizzas we make, you still have to pay $120 a month in rent. Okay. Now, total variable costs. Those are the difference between total cost and total fixed costs. So at 1 unit of output, we have $210 in total cost. 120 of those are fixed. What's left over? In this case, $90. Now remember, we do the marginal cost in between the two numbers. Everything else falls on the number. Now, the next unit of output, if we go from 1 unit to 2 units, we have $270 in total cost, and we had 210 before. So you can see here, as we go from 2 units to 1 unit to 2 units, total costs go up by $60. So that is the marginal cost of producing the second unit. If we want a second unit of output, we're going from 1 to 2. It's always 1 unit changes. It's going to cost us $60 more. Now our total costs are $270 at 2 units of output. Minus the 120, which doesn't change in fixed costs, that leaves us $150 in total variable costs. The next one, going from 2 to 3 units, we go in total cost from 270 to 315. 315 minus 270 is $45. The marginal cost of the third unit is $45. At 3 units of output, our total costs are $315. Total costs are made up of total variable and total fixed. Taking total cost of $315, subtracting out the $120 in total fixed costs, that's going to leave us with $195 in total variable costs. We'll just keep doing that. To go from 3 to 4, the difference here is $65. You can see here that marginal cost is starting to go up. And when we graph this, marginal cost will be sort of a slanted J. They'll decrease, reach a point. Now the point where they reach this bottom, lowest part, and then it'll curve up like a big J, is where the law of returns kicks in, the law of diminishing returns, which we talked about earlier. So it'll kick in somewhere here between 3 and 4 units of output. So using 4 units of output, remember we graph that on the half, that's 4, even though it's in 3.5 position. $380 in total fixed costs minus $120. I'm sorry, $380 in total cost, a TC, total cost $380, minus the $120 in fixed costs. That's going to leave us $260 in total variable costs. We'll go to the next one. To go from 4 to 5 units of output, that is $95, the difference there. 475 minus 380 is 95. $475 in total cost, minus the 120 in fixed. What's left over are total variable costs, and those are going to come in here at $355. Okay. Going down to the last unit of output. If we want to go from 5 units of output up to 6, our total costs go from $475 to $630. That is $155 to produce that 6th unit. If total costs are $630, you subtract out, total costs are $630, you subtract out $120 in total fixed costs, TFC, that's going to leave us with $510 in variable costs. Now, average variable cost is the total variable cost divided by the number of units of output or total product. 90 divided by 1 is $90. So the average variable cost of producing 1 unit of output is 90. If we produce 2 units of output, total variable costs are 150. You divide that by the 2 units of output, and average variable cost becomes $75 per unit of output. The next 3 units, we have $195 in variable cost. We'll get our calculator out just to prove it to you. $195 divided by 3 units of output comes out to be $65. Now, one thing you notice here is that as marginal costs are decreasing, so is my average variable cost. Once they start to increase between 3 and 4 units of output, my average variable costs are going to go up. So here, where are we here? With $260 in total variable cost, our average total variable cost is you take that 260, divide it by the 4 units of output, and here we have $65 in average variable cost. This point right here is going to be important. That's where average total cost and marginal cost are equal. And when we graph that, it's going to be the bottom of our average variable cost curve. It's going to curve down, be U-shaped. So let's keep finishing here. $355 in average variable, total variable cost, so $355 divided by the 5 units of output. Our average variable cost comes up to be $71 per unit. You see it's starting to go up here. And that's why we're going to have that U shape. It's going to go down to the point where marginal cost equals average variable cost, and then it's going to start going up because the marginal cost is higher than the average. This final unit of output, we have $510 in average variable cost, so 510 divided by 6 units of output. That comes out to be $85. And that's our average variable cost. Average total cost, you take the total cost at any unit of output and you divide it by the amount of output. So here I've got $210 in average total, in total cost divided by 1. My average total cost is $210 per unit. Going down here, 2 units, we have $270 in total cost divided by 2 units of output. Our average total cost is starting to decrease now. It's at $135. For 3 units of output, we have $315 in total cost divided by the 3 units of output. Our average total cost decreases to $105 per unit. We get here 4 units of output. Get the calculator going. I've got $380 in total cost divided by the 4 units of output. We've got $95 in average total cost. We produced 5 units of output. Our total costs are $475. $475 divided by 5 units of output, and that is $95. Okay, where average total cost equals marginal cost, the curve flattens out and then starts to increase again as we produce an additional unit of output. So here we have 6 units of output. Total costs are $630. So we take 630 divided by 6, and I've got 105. And there are your calculations. You have to memorize those equations, but it's really easy. Marginal cost is just the change in total cost divided by the change in output. And we always use 1 unit change as an output. So you take this number, you subtract the one before it, and in between those you put the marginal cost. So 210 minus 120, that was 90. So that goes in here sort of on the half mark. You see it's not correctly on either the 1 or the 0 line here. It's in between them. Okay? Total fixed cost, we know that is total variable cost. We know that's a given. We can find it by looking to where there are 0 units of output. Whatever total costs are at 0 units of output, that's what the total fixed cost is, and then you just fill that column in. It doesn't change. That's the rent on the Little Caesars building. No matter how many pizzas we produce, the rent stays the same. Total variable costs, we know those at 0, because when you have 0 units of output, your variable costs are also 0. Once we start changing here, you take total variable costs, you take whatever total costs are, subtract out the fixed cost, and what's left over are your total variable costs. We just did a little algebra there. Okay? Remember, total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. So if we subtract variable cost from total cost, that will tell us what our total variable costs are. Average variable cost, you see that word average, you know you're going to be dividing total variable cost, whatever the second two words, the last two words are, by the number of units of output. So whatever whatever total variable costs are, you divide it by the number of units of output, and that gives you average variable cost. Average total cost, you take total cost and you divide it by the units of output. So we take this column, divide it by the number of units of output to produce those costs, and that's our average total cost. Now the next thing we're going to do is graph these things. We'll start off with average total cost. Okay, so we're going to put a point here, 1 unit of output and 210 average total cost. 2 units of output, our average cost decreased to 135. So we find 135, 2 units of output. 3 units of output, our average total costs are 105. Find 105 and 3 units of output. Go to 4 units of output. Average total costs are $95. 4 units down to 95. 5 units of output, average total costs are still 95, so we go 5 and up to 95. And then finally, at 6 units of output, our average total costs are 105. Go to 6 units of output and to 105 points. That is our average total cost curve. It bottoms out here and then it starts to go up again. Average variable cost. At 1 unit of output, average variable cost we figured out were $90. Go over to 1 unit of output, up to $90. There's the first point on our average variable cost curve. Go to 2 units of output, average variable cost dropped to 75. So we get at 2 units of output, up to 75, put a point. Go to 3 units of output, average variable cost, AVC is 65. 3 units, up to 65. Same thing here. 4 units, it was 65, we know that. For 5 units, average variable costs are 71. 6 units of output, average variable costs are 85. And you can see, as output increases, average variable cost, the purple curve, gets closer and closer to the average total cost curve without touching it. And that is because average total costs are average variable cost plus average fixed cost. Average fixed cost would be a line that's decreasing and asymptotic to the y-axis. It gets smaller as output gets smaller. So the difference between these two is equal to the average fixed cost, and as output increases, that difference is going to get smaller and smaller. The next thing we need to graph is marginal cost. Marginal cost of the first unit of output was $90, so we're going to go to 1 unit of output and $90. Next unit of output, $60 is the marginal cost. 2 units, $60. You can see here where this marginal cost curve is below average variable cost because of the marginal average rule. Average variable and average total cost will decrease when this orange curve is beneath them. It'll flatten out where they connect. That's where the slope of that line or curve is 0. So the third unit of output is $45 marginal cost. We go 3, 45. The fourth unit, you can see here, marginal cost starts to go up. It's $65. So we go over to 4 units of output, up to $65. And that's where it starts to, I'm sorry, these got to be graphed on the half, my fault. There we go. There we go. This point here, where these two curves cross, is the lowest point on that average variable cost curve. After that, it starts to increase. The fourth unit of output was 65. The fifth is 95. So we go over to 4.5 because we graph it on the half, and up to 95. And you see that's where it graphs the average variable cost. They'll start to go up after this. Above, they'll start to increase after this point. Finally, the sixth unit of output, all right, is 155. So we go to 5.5 units of output up to $155. Put that last point, and we'll grade that now. And we didn't make any math errors. We didn't make any graphing errors, so our graph looks good. This orange curve is the marginal cost curve. The purple curve, which is always below average total cost, is the average variable cost curve. And then this is the average total cost curve. Where the orange marginal cost curve crosses each one of these is an important point. This is actually what we call the shutdown point, and that goes over to $65. Any price below $65, this firm will shut down. This is actually the break-even point, and that was, I think, 95. So any price above $95 that this firm can get for their output, they'll make a profit. Any price below 95, they'll make a loss. In between these 2 points here, that is the region where the firm will stay open in the short run, but close in the long run. Any point below 65, any price below 65, and this firm will shut down in the short run and the long run. Any price above 95, this firm will make a profit and stay open short run and long run. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.